Hello and welcome to another bearing removal and replacement video featuring Boca bearings. Now the subject of today's video is an MDS 68 engine. Now these are engines that were manufactured and exported from Russia beginning in about 1996, and I'm not entirely sure how long their production or export went. But the engine I've got here is a 68, MDS 68, and it was at least released post 1998. The last issue of RC Modeler magazine that I've got is a 1998 issue, and it does not list the MDS 68 nor the 148, which was the largest, I believe, of the engines that they put out. So this engine is relatively new, but because of MDS's history and reputation, I've had many of these engines before, reputation for not the best quality, I am going to do a bearing replacement on this and investigate and see what kind of bearings are actually installed in this and see if they're any high quality or not. So with that said, let's go to the table. I'll show you this engine and then I will disassemble it and we will remove and replace some bearings. So here is the MDS 68 engine that I will be disassembling here momentarily and doing a bearing replacement on. Now, this engine is a really nice engine. Like I said in the intro, I've had numerous MDS engines in the 40 size range, and they all had very questionable quality as far as at least the carburetor was concerned. Now the 68, I believe I've actually had the 148 also, and it was a really good running engine. The 68 has been my favorite engine of theirs. This will be the second time I've had one of these, and it was a fantastic runner. So with that said, let me turn the camera off, disassemble this engine, and let's get to a bearing replacement, or upgrade as I like to call them. So here on the table I've got the majority of this engine disassembled already. I've got some parts in here and I'm quite impressed with this. Now the last time I had my first MDS 68 engine was in 1999, and as I mentioned in the intro, the latest RC Modeler magazine I had was from 1998, and I've got a picture of the advertisement from that. And this was not, the 68 was not listed, so it must have come out right in 1999. I must have got my first MDS 68 engine right when they came out, because I know it was 1999 when I had it in a plane and I was flying with it. At that time, I don't think I ever disassembled the engine, but I am quite impressed with what I'm seeing here. I know I had mentioned earlier versions or earlier ownings of the MDS engines. I've seen some very questionable quality, and it all revolved around the carburetor, but the engine itself, I believe, is really kind of nice. Now, it doesn't have a super nice finish, external finish. It's not, you know, an OS quality crankcase, but one of the things it does have that I really think is really nice is I always love it when I see O-ring seals on the rear cover, because that just is one of those things that if you go to disassemble it, you're not going to lose the gasket, so you're not going to have to replace it. Plus, it really forms a good seal. And this is a true ABC construction engine. As you can see here, this is a very low time engine if it wasn't new when I got it. I have run it a few times, and it's a really nice running engine. And as I was looking at it and kind of inspecting it, I did this. And I noticed that this crankshaft is just coming straight out, just like that. Now, that is beautiful. So yes, this is basically a brand new engine that I'm going to be pulling the bearings out and inspecting, and then probably, or not probably, replacing them or upgrading them with a set of Boca bearings. But I was also impressed to see that the front bearing is a rubber sealed bearing, which is always kind of a cool thing to see, because you don't see that too often, and I don't recall seeing that very often at all in MDS engines. Let me just see if I can get this front bearing out without applying any heat. Now, Boca's website does have listings for MDS engines, numerous ones, and ones that I didn't even know existed. So after 1999, they must have really expanded their models, because Boca's website has a 78 listed, a 58 listed, and of course I mentioned the 148. They've got it listed as a 1.4. But Yeah, so this is a beautiful bearing. It's rubber sealed on both sides, which is kind of unusual because you don't normally see that in two-stroke engines. And since this rear bearing stayed in place here, I'm going to have to use this Boca bearings bearing puller tool to get this one out. So I'm going to need to get just a little bit of tension on that so I can just fit it in there and get it right into that gap. And hopefully I'll be able to extract this bearing without any heat also, but that's yet to be seen, I suppose. I think I was going the wrong way there. That wasn't a good thing. Okay, good. Here we go. We're on that bearing. Get to snug that up just a bit more. Okay, now let's move these things out of the way and see if I can just tap this thing out of here without any heat. We'll try it without heat first. Looking in there to see if it looks like it's coming out. It looks like it is coming out. Thought it looked like it was coming out. Maybe I'm going to have to resort to using some heat on this. There we go. No heat required. Look at that. There we go. These are nice bearings. In fact, these are so nice that I am going to keep them in the same bag that I replace them with from Boca. So, let me go and just kind of see if there's anything to clean up in here, which I don't think there is. And then I'm going to go and get the bearings from Boca and we'll reinstall or install a new set. Okay, so here we are. I have the bearing kit that I got from Boca for this engine, and I've got all the tools necessary to put this in, which isn't going to be that much now because it's in such great shape. But I've also got my bottle of Lightning Lube road power from Boca bearings that I like to use anytime I'm reinstalling bearings or reassembling an engine. So that's what I'm put in there. Now, these bearings really didn't need to be replaced, but I always like to inspect and potentially replace all bearings and engines that I might end up giving away to people. So that's why we're going to be upgrading to some Boca bearings. And the kit number for this MDS 68 engine is ENK-017RS. So let's look at this. Now, if you were to put these bearings side by side, you'd say, boy, they look identical to the Boca, to the original bearings, and for who knows, maybe they are. I doubt it, but you never know. I mean, even the rubber sealed front bearing looks identical to the one that's on here that came out of the engine. So I'm not, you know, it's one of those things I usually always replace or remove one seal from one side on the front bearing. But in this instance, I think I'm just going to leave it just as it came out of the factory, just for no other reason than just to leave it like that, just because I don't see, I mean, normally I'll always remove those, and heck, I've actually seen a lot of front bearings on some engines, certainly several Webras, that have no seals or shields on front or back. I don't really understand that, but in this instance, I think I'm just going to leave this one. This one, obviously, it's got metal shields on here, so we're going to go ahead and pop those out and have a completely, you always want to have a completely open bearing in the rear so that you get maximum oil flow through there. So now, oh, those are nice. Let me lubricate these parts up. Now I am going to heat this case up to install these bearings. However, I did not pull my heat gun over here yet, so I need to go and grab that. I'm going to go ahead and install this rear bearing on the crankshaft here. Look how that fits, just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This crankshaft is really nice. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I found some more information on the company of MDS that I'll post somewhere in this video because I think it's really interesting information. You don't always find that kind of information, but there is one website where there is a lot of company information on these glow engines, and it's been an invaluable resource to me. So let me go and grab my heat gun real quick, and we'll get this bearing installation completed. Okay, presto changeo, heat gun in hand, and I think I'm going to actually move my vise over here also as well. So let's go ahead and start heating up this crankcase so we can install this front bearing. It should be nice and warm now. Front bearing is in. Now let's install this rear bearing. Get it lined up there. There we go. Now let's just tap this thing in place. There you have it. Beautiful. Beautiful. And now we are completed with this bearing R&R on this MDS 68 engine. As you can see, this crankshaft just wants to slide right in and out again. And now we have officially upgraded to some Boca bearings.